Hello, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the J Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Nowakowski, and today I'm joined by the guy who brings the Mackey and Judd. It's Phil Mackey of Skor North. How you doing today, Phil?
What is going on, Josh? I'm just sitting here, and I can smell training camp off in the horizon. It's weird how the year just flies by between like the Super Bowl and mini camps, and now we're like 6 weeks away from actual training camp. So it's crazy.
Yes, and plenty of drama to cover as well with, Danielle Hunter, and also you have the Aaron Rodgers situation. So this offseason's kept Vikings fans pretty busy in general, I would say.
Yeah, I love reading all these reports out of Green Bay. It's like they just have stability all the time for almost 30 years, except for once 13 years ago. And then, of course, the Vikings got to reap the benefits of having Brett Favre for a minute. And then I'm reading all these practice reports now of Jordan Love. Yesterday, Jordan Love was garbage in the 2-minute drill. Now today, it's like Jordan Love looked amazing. Oh, my God, he's completing passes in practice to guys wearing shorts. It's like, all right, have fun with that if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play. Good luck to you guys.
I know. I saw that. I saw a tweet. He threw a 30-yard, 45-yard pass, whatever it was. And I was like, in training camp, yes. Cool.
Yeah.
In OTAs.
You know that you're in a very tenuous quarterback situation when you're celebrating your quarterback in a mini camp completing a wide open 30-yard pass. Like, all right, let's get excited. No one was tweeting that when Aaron Rodgers was at mini camp for 13 years.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We'll start there with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you are in media circles a lot closer than I am. Like, what is your feeling? Like, if you were to say today, is he going to be on the Packers? Is he going to be traded? Or do you think he's just going to straight up retire?
Well, I look at it two ways. I think there's a lot of people closer to that team than me, and there's a lot of people that it's like Jason Wilde, who I'm friends with, who covers that team, and he's probably the most plugged in local Packers reporter to Aaron Rodgers. They used to do a weekly show together. He thinks this thing is fixable. It seems like people in and around the team think it's fixable. So on one hand, it's like, all right, it seems fixable. I don't know what the fix is. Maybe they have to fire their general manager that he hates, but some people are saying it's fixable, so maybe he does come back and play. But on the other hand, Aaron Rodgers literally cut off his family from his life. He doesn't talk to his mom, his dad, or his siblings anymore because of whatever. Like they had some sort of falling out like 10 years ago. And he cut his family off at the knees, does not speak to them, does not show up to gatherings. So if he's willing to cut his family out of his life, do you think he cares about Brian Gutekunst or like Bill in Onalaska, Packers fan with a certificate? Like, no. I wouldn't be shocked especially if he gets the Jeopardy money, if he gets $20 million a year to be the next Jeopardy host. I don't think he wants to sit out and just lose $35 million in cash from his Packers salary, but he doesn't need it. He's rich, and if he gets the Jeopardy money, he'll be even more rich. So I think he's so vindictive, he would rather sit out for a year and have this staring contest last all the way through 2021 than play for the Packers without any major changes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's either like Jeopardy. I really think like that's if it's not going to be, I'm just going to be done. Like if it's going to be if he gets that Jeopardy job, which I haven't really seen anything if it's his or not. That's been very quiet, which is interesting. It's like I feel like if Jeopardy knew the situation and they wanted him, maybe they would have said something. But
Jeopardy like holds the keys to this. It's I don't know. Is Ken Jennings in the mix? I don't even know who the other finalists are. But Jeopardy could come out right now and throw a wrench into this thing. Be great.
Right? Yeah, they totally could. But he's cut off his family, and I mean he did interviews at the Kentucky Derby. He could have shut down these rumors, but he didn't. And then, did you hear? I think it was on Pat McAfee's show today. They were talking about how I forgot which former player, but he's been talking with Aaron, and Aaron's not upset about drafting Jordan Love or not adding guys. It's the guys that have left. Did you hear anything about that?
I haven't seen, the clip yet. I know that AJ Hawk is a regular, I think AJ Hawk's on McAfee's show every day, and AJ Hawk's a former Packer linebacker who's friends with Aaron. So Yeah, I just if you're Rodgers, this is why I know that he's not always the greatest leader. He's almost more of a Jay Cutler type leader than a Tom Brady type leader, and so his personality has always rubbed me the wrong way. But I don't blame him for being mad about the last year and a half. The Packers
Right.
front office thought that he was more cooked than he was a year and a half ago, and they drafted his replacement. And he, in a win now Super Bowl window, they drafted his replacement in the first round, and then he won the MVP award. They were just wrong. Like, they were wrong. Obviously, if they thought he could win an MVP award, they wouldn't have drafted a quarterback in the first round. They would have given him Justin Jefferson or somebody to go and help them win a Super Bowl. So I think part of it is he just wants the Packers front office to say, yeah, we screwed up. We miscalculated this one. Sorry, Aaron. But I don't even know if that would help at this point. So
Right.
it's hilarious.
And yeah, it seems as a Vikings fan, it is hilarious because that our quarterback door is opening every 3 years, it seems like, and it seems like it'll be moving after this season again, but for a young talent. So I'm more excited about that than past years revolving doors. But it was wide receiver James Jones, former wide receiver.
Got it. Okay.
And and he basically said he was upset at Jordy Nelson, at them letting go of Jordy Nelson and that other no-name guy that got cut. He's been more upset at the guys who have they've kicked out without maybe talking to him about it first. Which
God, see, look at that. And like the Vikings, they've definitely bungled some things as a front office too. And there's a reason why the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl. But when it comes down to simple communication, all right, so we're going to draft a quarterback. We should probably call our current quarterback and just tell him, just make sure that we communicate that. And so they did. Hey, Kirk, ring, ring. Just so you know, we're probably going to draft a quarterback tonight or tomorrow. I don't know which one. We still love you. You're still our guy, but it's and the Vikings. It's easy for them. They can just make it about Sean Mannion and be like, I don't know, don't tell Sean, but like. Yeah. We just need a better backup. We just need some younger blood in that room, and you're still the man. And we really need you to help sort of groom those guys, too, in case you get hurt, which you never do because you're amazing, Kirk. We love you so much. Like, it's not that hard to communicate. And if you're Rodgers and you're watching the draft and you're drinking your whiskey or whatever he was drinking and you see that pick come across the screen, no one called me? Really? I would be sort of irked by it, too, just a simple phone call or a text message from somebody.
Oh, yeah, I would feel the same way. I mean, and also, it's not like Aaron Rodgers is a mid-tier. He is an elite quarterback. He just, I mean, I guess before that, he wasn't the MVP of last season at that time. But, yeah, I would have been pissed off as well if I didn't get a phone call or anything from anyone about this situation. But, I mean, it's fun to laugh at seeing this as Vikings fans, but we kind of have our own contract issues going on with Danielle Hunter. What are you getting the sense of? Is he going to be there next week, or do you think this is something that he's going to hold out for?
Yeah, because right now he's really only missed the voluntary workouts, which they're voluntary, but everyone tends to show up. I mean, Patrick Peterson showed up, Kirk Cousins was there, so not showing up for the OTAs is a big deal, but it's still voluntary, and so. Well, if he skips the first day of mandatory minicamp, then it becomes a holdout officially, like Aaron Rodgers, and they can fine him. Then the team has to decide, okay, do we want to lash back out at him and fine him for missing mandatory practice, or do we want to just let the waters be calm and come to some sort of agreement?
Yeah.
I don't think he shows up for the first day of minicamp. I saw what Paul Allen reported on his radio show last week, and he's as plugged in as anyone with the Vikings, and oftentimes will withhold information because he doesn't want to, ruffle feathers. And he came out and ripped Danielle Hunter for creating this quote unquote embarrassing situation and having some former disgruntled Vikings in his ear. Yeah. And I don't know. I see Danielle Hunter's point and that he's like the 15th or 17th highest paid player at his position, which is not what he is. But on the other hand, he hasn't played a football game since 2019. He had major neck surgery. So if I'm the Vikings, I think a lot of people just expect, the Midwestern values part of Vikings fans is going to say, listen, you agreed to a contract, you honor that contract, and you show up to work. And by the way, you're making $17 million a year, and so you're going to be fine either way, right? And I get that side of it. But at the same time, Danielle Hunter basically has one window in his life to make life-changing money, and then his body's going to be cooked. And so I don't blame football players for wanting to sort of renegotiate their value. He's worth more in the football market than he's getting, even though he agreed to that contract. But I don't see how he can demand Joey Bosa money, like top of his position money, when he hasn't played a game in over a year and a half. So if I'm the Vikings, I think what I do if I'm the Vikings is I say, listen, we'll give you more money, and we've got some cap space for 2021, but we're not going to give you $27 million a year like Joey Bosa without seeing you play first. That's just not realistic, and we might not give you that money anyways. That's ridiculous money. So we'll give you some more money. Maybe we can get you more money on like a 2-year extension here, a restructure, and then once we establish after 2022 that you're healthy again, you have a chance to test the market. It's a checkpoint for us to maybe pay you again. Maybe there's some incentives in there for games played or something. But I think the worst response for the Vikings would be to say, sorry, dude, you signed the contract, because that's not going to fix it. You want to win a championship this year. You need him if you want to win a championship. But if you're Danielle, you can't just sit there and demand with a hardline stance to be the top paid player at your position. So it's complicated.
It definitely is, and the Vikings, they're not the team. They don't seem like the team to be like you signed. They don't seem like you signed the contract. They seem to want to please their players. I know there was the Riley Reef incident last year, which was, I mean, he's off the team now, and I think we all kind of saw that happening after what happened. But I'm with you. I need to see him play because, a neck injury is so, especially like where he plays, a neck injury is just very serious, and you don't want to pay him, and then he gets hurt again. And then you're like, well, now he's getting paid boatloads of money, and we're screwed at the edge rusher on both sides of the field, or on left and right. And so I need to see him play. And I mean, if I'm Spielman, Zim, I just talk to him and I say, look at the roster we've done. Look at the guys we've added. We have a shot to be a really good team. There's something going. The Bears have Andy Dalton and Justin Fields as their quarterback. Jared Goff for the Lions, and it seems like Blake Bortles for the Packers right now. It's like we have a real shot to win the division and make a run in the playoffs. If you can just give us some time, figure out some money, you're gonna get paid. We love you. And you'll get your money, but just give us time, play with these guys, see how you feel, and if your neck's all good, we're more than happy to pay you. I hope that's what happens.
Yeah, but then there's the other side of it too, which is, and I don't think Hunter would and his agent would say this necessarily, but there's probably some questions about whether he's the same player, and they want to get money now. Sidney Rice kind of did this back in 2010. Where he had the big season with Brett Favre in 2009, and then he had sore hip going into the offseason, and he was kind of sitting there with the organization. His contract he had one more year left in his deal, and coming off a 1,000-yard season for the first time, and he's saying, I would love to get that surgery to fix my hip. Would make this season a lot easier. And the Vikings are like, yeah, you should definitely get that surgery. And he's like, probably not going to get it until you give me a contract extension. And they just sort of had a staring contest. He held the surgery essentially over their heads. They never blinked. He wound up getting the surgery later on and missed a bunch of games, and then he wound up, I think, going to the Seahawks the next year or something. Yeah. So it is a weird staring contest, and it kind of feels like it's the only real lingering negative thing over this team right now. Patrick Peterson's all excited to be here.
Yes.
It feels like Kirk Cousins is excited about the offensive linemen that they've drafted. Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook are everything they're saying is, we're going to tear the league up. And you've got this big elephant in the room in Danielle Hunter. And if you can just make him happy, you have a legitimate chance. If you can make him happy and Aaron Rodgers doesn't play for the Packers this year, you've got a pretty clear path to win your division and do some damage if everyone stays healthy. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I don't want to get my hopes super high on this team because they're the Vikings. We get our hopes up and then they just crush us and kill our feelings. Yeah. But and so I don't want to get my hopes up, but at the same time I'm like, like this can be the season because like everything is falling into place, and it's just like, yeah, that one lingering thing, over them is Danielle Hunter, and I hope it gets figured out. I mean, I at least need to see him at the mini camps, and for like the team doctors say no, his neck's fine, he'll be okay on the field. Like before I want to sign him, like I need to see him on some sort of field before that.
Does his presence also, if he doesn't show up and doesn't, let's say he doesn't play, or however it works out, like let's say he doesn't play for the Vikings this year, I almost feel like it kind of negates everything they did to add pieces to that defense, because if you can't create pressure with your front four, then Patrick Peterson's not going to be able to cover anybody, and Bashad Breeland isn't going to be able to cover anybody if he gets that starting job, which is another interesting case. They basically have just, in the secondary, Mike Zimmer has spent the last 5 years, every time the draft rolls around, lobbying and pitching first-round cornerbacks. Right? Got to get Mike Hughes and Jeff Gladney, and then Cam Dantzler in the third round, and all of a sudden now he's like, nah, screw this. We need some established veterans here. Even Cam Dantzler, it's like, he was pretty good for like 5 weeks, but Bashad Breeland's going to start over Cam Dantzler unless he has a terrible camp.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and that would suck because they've really put a lot of work into it. I mean, Pat Pete, Xavier Woods as well. I'm high on him. I know a lot of people aren't, because his one thing is effort, and Zim will just kick you to the curb if you don't give effort. So I feel like Woods is going to give that. But yeah, it would suck for Danielle to hold out, and then like the defense falls apart because there's no pressure to the quarterback. But I want to ask you, who is one newcomer to the Vikings that you're like most excited for? That could be from the draft or free agency.
Well, Kellen Mond, I'll just be honest, and I know that he's probably not going to play at all in 2021, nor should he. I don't think unless there's just major injury issues, or the Vikings are just awful in November or December and out of the playoff race or something. But I don't want people to mistake this. Kirk Cousins is very clearly one of the 15 best quarterbacks in the world, and he's better than Kellen Mond, and he will be better than Kellen Mond in 2022 in all likelihood too. But I just don't think you can win a Super Bowl paying Kirk Cousins as much as they are. I don't think he can be the third highest cap hit, or next year the second highest cap hit, and you win a Super Bowl with that. Now, the Vikings, despite his cap hit, did a pretty incredible job building their roster back up through free agency, and so tip of the cap to Rob Brzezinski. He always finds a way to just sort of shuffle money around. Now, the cap isn't fake. Like you do have to pay the piper, and that's why the Vikings have had so much trouble finding room for Danielle Hunter money, etc. But I think the best formula for them would be if Mond becomes the starting quarterback in 2022, $1 million to the cap as opposed to 40 or whatever Kirk's going to be at. And then you can build around that low contract and that mobility for like 3 years before you have to pay him. I like that formula. Now, is there a chance he's terrible and it doesn't work? Yes. Christian Ponder was terrible. But people always use Ponder as like, well, what if you whiff and draft another Ponder? Okay, well, because Ponder made no money, and Mond, because he was a third-round pick, is going to make even less money, they were able to build up an offensive line and a defensive line and a secondary and pay all these other guys to have a great roster and a good enough roster to go 10-6 one year without with Ponder just being terrible. Yeah. They could pay Adrian Peterson twice as much as any other running back in the league because Ponder made no money. So, people always hold up Ponder as the example of be careful what you wish for, and I say, what if Ponder was decent? They would have won the Super Bowl in a couple of those years, maybe not Super Bowl, but they would have been a force. So that formula intrigues me, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I see totally where you're coming from with that. My newcomer is Darisaw, and it's for one reason, because every other offensive lineman we've drafted is, he's super athletic and he's going to be this athletic guy and he's going to be so good. And it's like, yes. And then here comes Aaron Donald, going into you guys 5-6 times a game. And I just like the fact that Darisaw is this big guy. He's not super athletic, so he's the opposite of everything else the Vikings have. And he's just some big dude who is going to clog up. And I mean, some of the faster edge rushers he might have trouble with. But I am excited to have a non-athletic type that, Zimmer and Spielman love to have. And he'll help with the pass rush for sure on the offensive end.
Yeah, it is amazing how obsessed they've gotten with the nimble, mobile, agile offensive linemen who can get out there in the zone run blocking scheme. And they have been able to get out there in the zone run blocking scheme, but when there's 2.5 minutes left and you need a touchdown and you need to march down the field, you can't be zone run blocking anymore. Like, you need to protect Kirk Cousins. And how many times, whether it was Elfline a couple years ago or Bradbury the last couple years, are these dudes just getting lifted up into the quarterback right off the snap? So Reef was good at left tackle, and last year might have been his best year, maybe even as a pro. So Darisaw is assuming that he gets the starting job out of the gate. He's going to have some, not like Hall of Fame shoes to fill, but Reef was good at left tackle last year, so he's going to have some shoes to fill there. And then the pressure is going to be on Garrett Bradbury to be better at center for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But he just intrigues me as, okay, he's not this guy. He's the complete opposite. So he brings something else to the table. But who's like, and this can be a new player who's been on the team, who's someone, I mean, you expect to have not necessarily a breakout season, but just a much improved season?
I would say Garrett Bradbury. Honestly, I'm not ready to label him a bust. And I think, in fairness to him, as a young guy the last couple years, at a position where there's just a lot going on, you're making calls, you are essentially everyone talks about the importance of left tackle, but center, you are organizing the calls, you have to worry about snapping the ball cleanly and then just being ready for a bull rush.
Yep.
So there's just a lot that goes into playing that position. And he's had this revolving door of starting guards to the left and the right of him. Dakota Dozier and Drew Samia were two of the worst offensive linemen, according to Pro Football Focus, in the league. So, yeah, he needs to be better in pass protection, but he also has had no help to his left and his right. So I think the hope would be Ezra Cleveland showed some promise as a guard, and Wyatt Davis is going to come in here and probably get the starting job. So if you could just have some better coworkers to your left and your right, maybe he'll be better at his job too. So I actually think he's going to be better. It remains to be seen if he can get better enough to where he's the long-term solution at center, but he hasn't really gotten a fair shot so far.
Yeah, I like that one, and I agree. He really hasn't had a fair shot. I mean, when you have Dakota Dozier and Drew Samia, it's just your job just got 10 times harder, and you're still a young guy. You're still adjusting to the NFL level, and there's just a lot going on there for him. But
imagine 10 years ago, John Sullivan gets drafted in the 5th or the 6th round out of Notre Dame, and he's got Steve Hutchinson, Hall of Famer, to his left.
Yep.
And he didn't, the right guards tended to be a little bit of a revolving door, but he had Anthony Herrera was a pro, and you could set him in there, and he was a professional NFL right guard. Makes your job a lot easier when you've got Steve Hutchinson sitting next to you, just taking up all this space, and just the leadership qualities that he brought to the table.
Yeah, for sure. I think mine. I've heard his name a few times, but I was excited the day we drafted him, and that's Irv Smith Jr. When we drafted him, I was like, all right, Rudolph, he's getting older. He's still great, but he's getting older. Here comes this new wave of the tight end, which is, okay, I'm a little bit faster. I can run down the field. And what I saw last year from Irv was, okay, he got better at blocking. He's not great by any means, but he got better, and you saw improvement. And, Justin Jefferson had a crazy, great season. I said because I was on Purple Daily, I said he was going to win Rookie of the Year. Justin Herbert won it, but we know who the real Rookie of the Year was. But Jefferson, I think he's going to have another great season, but I think defenses are going to be way more focused on him and Thielen. And I think I hope he has a breakout year where he is just open because the defense forgets about him. And
he should. In fact, if he's going to be, I don't think he's ever going to be on that George Kittle, Travis Kelce
Oh
level. I
no.
think I think his upside is like that second tier of pass catching tight ends.
Yeah.
But this would be the year. If he doesn't emerge into that category, then I don't know. I don't know if it's him or if it's just the way they're using him. But this would be the year. He can basically be their third wide receiver. So
Hmm.
there's nobody there right now that should get more targets in that sort of third priority slot than Irv Smith. So I like that one.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm hoping for a good year from him. I ordered the jersey. It's on the way. But I mean, and realistically, like, what do you see from the Vikings happening? And I know it's still early, and there's still a lot of training camp and preseason, all that. But I mean, what are your expectations? I know your motto is no excuses, but what do you expect to see from this team this
Hmm.
year?
Yeah, I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think a lot of their success is going to come down to how healthy can the defense stay with a lot of veterans,
Hmm.
and how much can Zimmer get that defense to gel, because it's very obvious, even though they've got some great pieces on offense, it's very obvious that they want to win Mike Zimmer's way, which is let's spend all of our resources in the offseason on defense. Let's get all these guys together and let's try to push that rock back up the hill to where it was in 2017 and be the dominant defense in the NFL. And let's not turn the ball over. Let's not throw 11 picks in the first 6 games. Like I if it were me, I'd like to see a little bit more of a lean into the passing game, because I think when you
For
look at the
sure.
best, most
Yeah.
successful teams in the NFL, especially, we talk about playoff success. In order to have playoff success, you got to win like 13 games in the regular season to set yourself up to play home games, play
Hmm.
at US Bank Stadium, maybe even get a bye. And it's really hard to win 13 games in the regular season when you're playing such a conservative style of football, when you're handing off as often as the Vikings do on second and short, on these. That's the thing. Like the Vikings had, I want to say, the fifth fewest pass attempts period last year. And then when you get granular and you look at like those wide open playbook situations, second and short, or even like third and short, right? The Vikings and third and
Yeah.
long, the Vikings are super run heavy in some of those situations. And that's Mike Zimmer saying, hey, let's keep the ball on the ground here. Let's 4 yards at a time, take our medicine. I want to see them be more aggressive 4 times a game on offense. And I want to see them make a push to win, instead of 10 games and sneak in 13 games and solidify yourself some home games in January at US Bank Stadium.
Yeah, I agree, and yeah, watching those second and short run plays where it's like, hey, this is a chance to go deep, and it's a handoff to Cook, and he gets 2 yards. Okay, first down. But like, yeah, I totally hear where you're coming from, and I totally agree. I think we need to pass more. I'm not saying we don't need to become a pass centric offense. We have Dalvin Cook, but you don't want to overuse this guy and end his career earlier than it should. So I totally agree with you, but I appreciate you coming on, and I just want to, I found you guys in the middle of COVID. I had just gotten into podcasting just over a year ago, like
Cool.
just started listening, and the first I need to find. I was like, it was before the season started. I'm like, I need to find some Vikings, and yours was the first one that popped up, and I was like, I like these guys because your expectations, and even though sometimes you get slandered on Twitter, is we want to see him win a Super Bowl before we die. And I'm like, yeah, that's what every fan's goal should be, is to see that happen.
It's funny.
Um,
Like we had a conversation about, like, we were getting hammered. I think it was, can't remember if it might have been like a year ago around this time, and you guys are so negative. You guys are so critical, and we literally had a show meeting one time off mic, and we were like, I feel like we need to re-clarify why we come off that way sometimes. Like, what is our why, so to speak? We
mhm.
want to see them win a Super Bowl. And so
Yeah.
yeah, we're not gonna be happy when they meet low expectations. We're gonna set a high bar. We're gonna
Mhm.
praise them when they deserve it, but we're gonna be a little bit harder on them than maybe some other people, because we want them to win a Super Bowl. And if that's construed as negative, I don't know. Our goal is for them to win a Super Bowl. How can that be negative? Right? That's
Yeah.
the bar we're setting.
No, yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's all I got for you today. If you want to tell some of my listeners, where they can find you and Judd and Score North and all that, the floor is yours.
Right on, man. Yeah, Josh, thanks for having me on, and we'll do it again sometime. So Yeah, our website and our app, the Skor North app, SKOR North, are the two central hubs for everything we do. Otherwise, Mackey and Judd and Purple Daily, wherever you find podcasts, or if you watch on YouTube, those are the two daily shows that we crank out all the time. Mackey and Judd and Purple Daily. So yeah, good times.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone who likes Minnesota sports, they're your people. I know there's Judd's hockey show as well. That's on there as well. So yeah, download the app, uh, check out their Spotify, YouTube, all of that. And that's going to wrap up today's episode. So until next time, this has been Joshua Nowakowski of the J Sports Podcast.